Alright, welcome to another unboxing video. So, I'm Otaku Sinh and I've been collecting anime figures for about a year and a half now. So, for this video, we are going to be unboxing the reissue of the Cowboy Bebop, Faye Valentine, Spike Spiegel 1/8 scale first gig set of Megahouse. This was originally released on December 25th of 2019, and this is the reissue that officially had its release on July 28th of 2022. So I got this figure for 30,800 yen, and I had a really big shipment off of Ami. I did the boat shipping for the very first time. It was the Surface Mail Premium. That cost me 7,800 yen, and if I kind of split up the shipping between the three figures, overall I paid around 250 bucks for this figure. It comes with extra head sculpts for both Faye and Spike. On Spike, it comes with an extra head sculpt with a cigarette in his mouth. For Faye, it comes with a extra head sculpt with sunglasses. But before I start unboxing this figure, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, check out my blog at otakusin.com, check out my anime channel, Otakusin How to Anime, and I do live streams on Monday nights at 10 p.m. Central. So if you guys want to get involved in the live stream and take a look at anime figures, join my Discord and it will all be in the description below. Yeah guys, let's go ahead and unbox this figure. If you guys want to see the complete unboxing from the Ami box, it's in the Shion video. Of course, Megahouse, a subsidiary of Bandai, a lot of their figures, it comes in their own kind of branded brown box. So we're going to go ahead and open it real quick. And then at the bottom of the box, you have the little manual to put together the parts. As you guys can see right here, there are two separate figure boxes for the whole set. So as you can see right here, it's a whole set. So you have two separate figures and two separate boxes. And of course, it is as typical as a scale box as you can get. All the images are on the boxes. It's very typical. One little neat thing about the boxes, on the back of both boxes, there's actually, info on the character. So Spike is only 27 years old. So we all know in anime years, he's 40 years old. He's pretty old then. There's his birthday, zodiac signs, and blood type. And the same thing here for Faye. Faye's 23 years old, and her sign is Leo. Blood type B. I think those little subtle things about a box and about the character, I think those things are pretty cool. So we're gonna go ahead and open the Faye Valentine box first. Ladies first. And already on the packaging right here, you see the base, you see the figure, the little gun parts, and then you have kind of the silhouette in the background. And it has an extra piece right here that I'm going to cut out. As you guys can see right here, there's the silhouette piece with the swordfish. And then you have the extra head swap piece with the sunglasses for Faye. And right here are all the parts that come with the Faye Valentine box. And then here you have the figure itself, Faye Valentine. So I think people are right. They're correct in saying that this is not really a 1/8 scale. She is pretty small. Then let's open the Spike box. Same thing here with the packing here. There's the glass swordfish display in the back, and then you have the extra cigarette headpiece in the back. As you guys can see right here, all this right here is with the Spike Spiegel box. Alright guys, I put this figure together, but guys, you don't know this, but I spent a good hour trying to put this Spike into place. So this is the biggest issue with this assembly. So I can see why people have issues with this. The design to put this together is actually pretty stupid. Very stupid, and I'll tell you guys why. In this picture, you kind of see how Spike goes across a lot more. His legs are more across, where it fits all the way across over here onto the other base. But I can't quite get the legs to completely go across on both Faye and Spike. It's more Spike than it is Faye. There's these three other kind of like foot pieces for Faye and for Spike. But I mean, if these feet can't get into place, so it's kind of hard to find out like how to fit these parts into place. So these 3 pieces for their feet is kind of like useless. It's useless pieces because they don't exactly align. And like I said, these are actually very self-explanatory assembly. The parts go where they're supposed to go, but as always when putting together scale figures, sometimes it doesn't exactly fit, and that is my biggest issue with this damn figure. So as you can see right here, when I put this together, Spike's leg is supposed to be underneath, and you kind of have to like move these around, and I kind of messed up a little bit of the paint on Spike, you know, taking it out and putting it back in, taking it out, putting it back in, because when you have to pull it off the peg, his arms get caught onto the kind of like the mirror silhouette piece in the background. So that part of it is like really annoying. I hope they don't make this kind of design anymore, but everything else, like I said, is very self-explanatory. All the little glass shard pieces actually have little peg holes. You'll eventually get it into fit into place. In the back pieces, everything generally fits where it needs to fit. So yeah, guys, if they just didn't give us any like these feet pieces, like I think I feel actually a lot better about it, because the feet wouldn't matter as much, but it makes me feel like I need to put this in there. But it looks like a lot of people online, they don't really have that into place. So there you have it. I went ahead and switched the Spike head pieces and the Faye piece. All right, so let's talk about this figure. So I'm gonna talk about the price last. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start off speaking about the design. So this figure, actually, it came in 2 separate figure boxes. In one whole brown box that usually Megahouse and a lot of the other Bandai products come in. They come in their own little special brown box. So this one, it actually came with an extra head sculpt for Faye and Spike. Spike comes with one with a cigarette in his mouth. There's an extra headpiece for Faye that comes with sunglasses. So either one actually looked fine, and they both look pretty good. So for mine, I kept the cigarette one on the Spike scope, and then I kept the original without the sunglass head scope on Faye. So online, you'll see like multiple people saying like, you know, this is listed as a 1/8 scale, and it is a lot smaller than what you would think a 1/8 scale would be. So height wise, it's about 7.5 inches tall, but it's about 1 foot across. I'm thinking how they kind of price this is because obviously if it's a 1/8 scale and it's separate, you know, those kind of prices for those scales, typically they could be anywhere from 140 to like 240 bucks depending on what it ends up looking like. Enough with the price, but we'll get around to that. But the design itself, it's a great design. The base, it's a pretty, you know, simplistic base, but the fact that they kind of make it kind of, I want to say checkered is not the word I'm looking for, but the kind of like the wooden checkered thing, and then you have the names of the characters on the base, which is kind of cool. But most importantly, it's the cool idea of like this broken glass silhouette that's in the background that says Cowboy Bebop with the swordfish too painted on there. So that part is like really cool, and is a very uniquely designed figure. So I'm happy they did reissue this. I know a lot of people, you know, I read so many like kind of complaints on it, but I still really like the figure. The pose of Spike and Faye, Spike does stand out a little bit more because he's just a lot bigger, and just having the guns and then just the cigarette, you know, the Spike one stands out more to me, and I really like the sculpting, just how Spike looks, besides maybe the legs. His legs are a little bit too long, in my opinion. Faye still looks pretty good. I mean, it looks exactly like how she would look in the anime. With their super long, high socks or kind of pantyhose, Faye looks pretty good as well. So overall, it's a very dynamic pose. Really cool, action-like pose. So that's really representative of what Cowboy Bebop is. So I love the design of this figure. So Cowboy Bebop, they try to bring back the live action, and Netflix started to, you know, put the anime on there. It was supposed to be a very big year for Cowboy Bebop, let's say the summer of 2021, I think. But unfortunately, the live action didn't live up to how incredible the anime is. But that doesn't stop the anime from being an instant classic. So the design is a very good representation of what Cowboy Bebop is. And Spike, having him pose like this is 100% a Spike look, And the same for Faye Valentine. She's a very, very cool kind of action character as well. So let's talk about the sculpt. So most importantly, let's start with the face, because Spike's face is like, it's near perfection on both head sculpts. I'm very, very pleased actually with how the hair turned out. It looks very, very natural. It looks just like how you think Spike's hair would look like. It's spiky. So it's spiky and it looks natural. So the only real complaint I have about Spike, maybe like again with the right leg, he's a very, very skinny character and he's very tall and lanky. So his legs looks like it might be a little bit too long, but you know, the upper part of his body looks like near perfect. I don't have an issue. It's not that big of an issue. With Faye, her face looks pretty good as well, but not as much as Spike. If you look at Faye's face like in the anime, she has like a little bit more of like an elongated face. So on this one, it's more kind of proportional in comparison, but I'm still pretty happy with how she looks, and the sculpting her face isn't bad. I mean, she still looks pretty much like above like 80% of what Faye would look like. You know, with her kind of outfit, she's Faye Valentine, so it's acceptable to me. Maybe her face could have been sculpted to be maybe a little bit longer, because taking in consideration the sculpting of the rest of her body, it pretty much looks like Faye Valentine. And the sculpting of her body, you know, it looks very, very natural. The hips and kind of torso area, that she has that classic kind of hourglass shape. It looks very natural for how she's posed and how kind of she's in that kind of dynamic with the gun and kind of bent one way. It looks natural. So in comparison to Spike with his longer legs, Faye's legs look like it's proportionally kind of sculpted. So that's great there. The hair sculpt on her head is like perfectly fine. It looks very, very normal. She doesn't have like super, super long hair. So it's like, it just looks very, very natural for what the figure is supposed to look like. And then the paint, the errors like are exactly where you think they are. And they're all like just on Spike. So it's these super intricate areas like Spike's tie, the little button part of his suit. Those are the areas where it's just not painted as well, and you could kind of see a little bit of the black paint kind of spill over, or more of the yellow paint actually spilling over to the black paint of the tie. But if you look at Faye, Faye looks incredible. Like, she's painted very, very well. And one thing to note a lot about gold paint, a lot of people complain about gold paint because it tends to like spill over, but mine actually ended up being very, 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 very well painted on. And I think maybe over time, I think people also have issues with possibly the paint kind of like messing up over time. So that's something that I need to kind of pay attention to and kind of look online, see what other people's experiences is. Because what I've seen online is a lot of the gold paint kind of spilled over in the first place. So over time, I kind of want to see how a lot of these figures, how their paint kind of holds up. But as of right now, how it's painted, it looks really, really good. Like it's near perfection of how my Faye's figure actually ended up being painted. So I'm very, very happy with that. And then the kind of broken mirror glass kind of deal with the silhouette in the background with the Cowboy Bebop with the swordfish painted in. There's obviously some parts that, you know, the pinkish reddish part of the swordfish doesn't look like it's fully painted in, and it just goes along with the design. I'm sure it's pretty difficult to kind of get it fully painted in without a little bit of errors, but as an overall figure, when you look at it, you can't tell. There's no way you can tell unless you actively zoom in your eyes and look for little parts on the side of the kind of glass pieces. There's a little bit of the pinkish reddish kind of paint not fully in, and some that's kind of spilled over to the side of the glass. Maybe that's an issue, but it's really not. It just goes along with the design. And there's like a little bit of maybe little black paint that got on the back of the glass, but it seems like it's really in a hidden area. You can't really tell unless you look at from behind, and it looks like something, a paint kind of smudge that you could kind of like clean off anyway. So not that big of a deal. And overall though, the painting on this is what you expect out of scales. Very, very minimal paint errors, and if there are paint errors, it's always going to be in the most highly difficult areas where it needs to be painted. So It usually makes a lot of sense that way. So where it gets egregious is if there's paint smudges or paint spills on areas where it looks like it shouldn't be, where it's the most obvious parts of the bodies that's not in a very, very intricate, very small detailed area. So this takes us to what people complain about the most about this figure. It's the assembly. The assembly itself, it comes with a manual. It's a black and white manual. It's just one piece of paper. And it's actually pretty self-explanatory. So everything fits exactly where you would think the parts would fit. All the kind of broken glass areas where you want to add it to the silhouette, there's obviously a peg part and there's a peg attached to these parts. There's a corresponding peg hole where you just stick it in there. Eventually you'll get it to fit right in. You just kind of have to play around with it and just kind of move it around and it'll eventually slide into place. And also with the figure, so the most damning part of this assembly is actually the peg holes of both figures of Faye and Spike, and more Spike than anything, because I had a ton of issues trying to get the Spike leg to kind of go all the way over. So if you guys look at the prototype pictures and you look at the pictures, the legs are supposed to cross a lot more, and I'd spent like an hour before I freaking rage quit to trying to get it to look like that, and I just could not get it to look like that. So overall there's 3-foot glass pieces and they are completely useless. They're just freaking useless, man, because it's very difficult to figure out where to kind of place it, and even in the pictures don't really help either, because how the peg pieces align on both figures into the silhouette, they're stuck where their legs are going to be. There's no amount of moving it around, and if people were able to kind of move it exactly where they want it, where it's supposed to be, good for them. But for me, it's like, it's just not that. And I'm not trying to do any kind of blow drying to kind of mess around with the mold and try to move it around more. I am not going to do. I'm just not going to do that. You pay $250, close to $300 for some people, possibly even less for other people. But I'm not trying to ruin this figure, because I played around with Spike's figure for like close to an hour. Because how his left arm is behind the glass silhouette, I actually kind of took it out a little bit too hard, and I chipped a little bit of the paint on the back under his kind of armpit area. I chipped a little bit of the paint because I messed around with it so much, and I just can't get the legs to look exactly how the picture wants us to look like. In the glass foot pieces, I don't know how to get it to fit. It just doesn't fit anywhere. So the thing is, guys, like without those kind of glass foot kind of pieces, holder pieces, it looks perfectly fine. If they did not add in those glass pieces, it's fine. It's great. It's a great figure. It's a great set together without those pieces. So that is where part of the assembly design of it is super annoying, because how they have it set up isn't exactly how many people like me, I've seen other people, they've had the same problem. You see it online on My Figure Collection. It's probably on Reddit, but there's other YouTubers that made videos of this that didn't necessarily get it to align, or they kind of glossed over it, because I'm pretty sure they had issues getting the glass pieces to look good. Mine just does not have their legs crossing over as much. And putting it together, because their foot are literally like at the same kind of landing spot, I kind of have to finesse it together to make both the base kind of fit. So Faye's foot is actually resting a little bit on Spike's foot, which is a little bit annoying there as well. But overall, there wasn't some stupid little glass like feet kind of holder. It's a great figure. And my cause for annoyance is just those pieces in general, and what led me to kind of play around with the Spike figure so much, where I ended up chipping a little bit of the paint of under his armpit of the left arm. So that is just what really, really annoys me the most about this figure. But the figure itself, it's awesome. It's great. I really like it. It's very classic, very, very nostalgic. It's an anime that aged like fine wine. It got better as I got older, because when you watch it as a teenager, you can't appreciate the blues. You can't appreciate these more adult scenarios. These characters are more adult age. On the box too, it has their listed age on there, so they're actually adults. They're still pretty young, but I mean, anime years, okay, instead of being, early to mid 20s, maybe anime years, they're more like mid-30s. So that's how I kind of see my overall kind of feelings about this figure and the Cowboy Bebop brand or anime in general. So the pre-order prices of this was before inflation hit really hard across the globe and the Japanese yen tanked. So this figure set overall was 30,800 yen. So during that time, that would have cost me maybe late 2021. That probably would have cost me over 300 bucks, and especially with the airplane shipping, which would have cost even more. So maybe closer to like 320, 330, I would have ended up paying for this whole set. But because of inflation hit and I was able to pay for it later on, which if you guys want to see me unbox the whole order itself, check out the Shion bunny figure video, because that's where I unbox the whole thing and lay out all the prices and everything there. The price of it was around 230 bucks of what I paid for it, and because I did the boat shipping and I had two other figures in the box, so I kind of averaged out like the $60 boat shipping. So this one I just added 20 bucks for this figure, so it was around 250 bucks I got for this. That's a lot more palatable price, and the fact that it is a 1/8 scale and it's actually a lot smaller. People are 100% correct when they say this figure is a lot smaller than compared to other 1/8 scale figures. It's I wouldn't say it's a lot smaller, but it's noticeably smaller. Again, it's about a foot across and 7.5 inches tall. It's about the size of a Figure Art Zero figure, so it's like more like 1/10 scale. It's pretty small in what you would expect in 1/8 scale to be. So most figure prices for 1/8 scales, they're anywhere between like 100 bucks to 240 bucks, depending on how the design of the figure kind of plays out. So it actually makes a lot of sense how it was originally priced to be around like 300 bucks for USD prices. Each of these figures cost, let's say 125. You split it in half. When you split it up that way, it actually makes a lot of sense. I think that's a very, very affordable price. But right now, I've seen a lot of people selling their figures, so it's selling anywhere between $200 and $250. And that's brand new. And I think this is something, because it was reissued, it might take another like year or two before the prices kind of climb back up a little bit. I think the issue for most people, and what pissed me off especially, is just the foot glass pieces. And those are like optional pieces, very, very optional. The most important part is that silhouette background looks very, very good. It's a great design. The faces of Spike on both heads are like near perfect. They're pretty much perfect. Like when I look at it, Spike is Spike Spiegel. It looks amazing. It's a very, very representative design of Spike and Cowboy Bebop. The same can almost be said about Faye. I have a little bit issue with her face because it's not as kind of like long as what the anime looks like, but it's pretty much Faye. It's her classic outfit, and they're both dynamic poses that are exactly what kind of Western kind of look of what Cowboy Bebop is. And it's that space, that cowboy kind of look and feel of what Cowboy Bebop is. So I still love the figure. Just kind of pissed off at this kind of glass deal with the foot thing. It just did not work out. And it made me rage quit, where I probably am not really going to show the simply that much. Overall, I think the prices as of right now for the Japanese prices make a ton of sense. So the Japanese prices is $30,800, and if you still get your hands on it for the USD conversion, is 230 bucks. So if you could do boat shipping, maybe it's like 20-30 bucks, maybe even less than 20 bucks, maybe like $10-15. I mean, I think that's worth it for this whole set. It's definitely worth it. Just disregard the foot pieces and you will enjoy this figure a lot more, because those are just very optional. I think the sculpting of Spike's face is the biggest selling point of this figure, because I think it looks incredible. And I love the one with the cigarette in his mouth. And that's the one I have on my figure, how I'm going to display it. 250 bucks. I feel like it was worth it. I still think it's worth it, even though it's a little bit smaller. In my opinion, it's worth it. Maybe, I think I might be more in the minority. I think, many other people feel like they got gypped a little bit because it is a little bit smaller. So maybe it should have been closer to I don't know. Maybe it should have been closer to 200 bucks. But I've seen a lot of figures, especially like Kadokawa figures, guys, it's gotten to the point where Kadokawa figures are around the price of 230 bucks for one figure with not very an epic dynamic pose with like that glass, you know, silhouette background. This is a pretty good deal when you put it in comparison to everything else is out right now. And still considering this a little bit smaller size of what the 1/8 scale is supposed to represent, I still think it's properly priced, and that's only because like the inflation and the Japanese yen is a lot lower than what it was supposed to be. $300 and above would have been, I would have been disappointed, but for 250 bucks, I'm actually, you know, I'm accepting of the figure, and Spike's face is the biggest selling point on this figure. Let me know what you guys think. Other than First 4 Figures, that's the only other brand where I would want to get the Spike scale, and I think for 250 bucks it's acceptable. $300 and above, too much money. I think it's too much for this set. So yeah, guys, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, check out my blog at otakusin.com, check out my other anime channel, and of course on Monday nights at 10 p.m. Central, I will be streaming, looking at anime figures. So if you guys want to join the Discord, so you guys want to get involved in the live stream and take a look at certain anime figures, join the Discord and we can all take a look at how these anime figures kind of stack up. So yeah, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.